that's how she feels. She feels like blogs and online platforms don't touch what she's saying, and they don't cover all of her words fully because it's Jay-Z and Roc Nation.
Well, I'll tell you this. I have no idea about their business, but if someone owed me $200 million, then I would be in court, not on X. And I guarantee you, if she ever took that to court, that would be a huge story.
We're watching a war unfold in real time. And no, this isn't about rap lyrics or chart positions. It's about power, leverage, and a series of accusations so explosive they could reshape the industry's balance of control. At the center of it all, Nicki Minaj, who just dropped a bombshell that isn't just aimed at one target but three: Jay-Z, Diddy, and, in a twist, few saw coming, 50 Cent. This isn't a revisit of old drama. This is a calculated strike, timed to detonate when the stakes have never been higher. The question isn't just what she's saying, it's why now, and what it reveals about the fractures beneath hip-hop's glittering surface.
Well, y'all, Nicki Minaj is back on X, and she's coming for Jay-Z. So in a series of tweets, Nicki Minaj is claiming that Jay-Z owes her $100 to $200 million so far.
It started with a demand, $200 million. That's the figure Nicki Minaj claims Jay-Z owes her from the sale of Tidal, the streaming platform she helped promote in its early days. But this isn't just about unpaid equity. When she tweeted, "We've estimated around $200 million so far. Jay-Z, call me so we can settle this karmic debt. The interest keeps adding up. You're still in my top 5, though." She wasn't just asking for money. She was issuing a public challenge to one of the most untouchable figures in music, framing the dispute as a test of his vulnerability. And Jay-Z? Silence. No response from his team, no legal threats. Just an eerie quiet that speaks volumes. Meanwhile, Nicki doubled down, vowing to use the funds to pay off her fans' student loans, turning a financial feud into a PR nightmare for a man who spent decades cultivating an image of generosity and business savvy. But the money is only the first layer, because buried in her tirades is something far more damaging: the implication that Jay-Z's empire isn't just built on hits and hustle, but on unpaid debts and broken promises to the very artists who helped him build it. Then came the second strike. In a series of posts that read like a legal brief mixed with a diss track, Nicki didn't just call out Jay-Z. She dragged Diddy into the fire, suggesting his inner circle has been covering up crimes for years. "You all know his next move will be to say that a certain someone is being treated so unfairly," she wrote, a thinly veiled reference to the mounting allegations against Diddy, who's currently facing federal charges for racketeering and trafficking, with trials looming in 2025. But here's where it gets interesting. Nicki didn't stop at Diddy. She implied his lover, a term loaded with insinuation, was complicit in the cover-ups. In the middle of Diddy's legal freefall, with witnesses coming forward and documentaries like Sean Combs' The Reckoning exposing his private world, Nicki's timing feels less like coincidence and more like strategy. She's not just adding to the noise, she's positioning herself as the one pulling back the curtain. And if the past is any indication, when Nicki Minaj decides to speak, she's not doing it without a plan.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
But the real shockwave came when she revealed why Diddy wasn't included in 50 Cent's explosive Netflix documentary. He paid 50 Cent. Let that sink in. The man who spent months portraying himself as the moral compass in Diddy's downfall, who jokingly posted AI-generated clips of Jay-Z in distress, who's been the loudest voice amplifying the accusations, might have taken a payoff to stay silent. Or at least, that's the narrative Nicki is pushing. And if there's even a grain of truth to it, the implications are staggering. Because 50 Cent hasn't just been a critic of Diddy, he's been the architect of his public unraveling, producing a documentary that promised to expose the darkest corners of Diddy's empire. If Nicki's claim holds weight, it doesn't just implicate 50. It suggests the entire reckoning we've been watching unfold might have been curated, controlled, or worse, bought. Now, let's rewind to understand how we got here. The feud between Nicki and Jay-Z isn't new, but the intensity is. It traces back to Tidal, the streaming service Jay-Z launched in 2015 with a star-studded press conference that included Nicki among its artist owners. Each was reportedly given a 3% stake in exchange for exclusivity and promotion. Fast forward to 2021, when Jay-Z sold the majority of Tidal to Jack Dorsey's Square for $302 million. Nicki claims she was offered a measly $1 million in the aftermath, a fraction of what her stake should have been worth. "I got a call saying Tidal was sold and they didn't make any money from the deal, so all they could offer me was $1 million, she wrote last year. She called it a scam. Jay-Z's team never responded, and in the months since, Nicki has turned her frustration into a full-blown campaign, tying Jay-Z's silence to everything from the Super Bowl halftime show snubbing Lil Wayne to Beyonce's Cowboy Carter being shut out of the Country Music Awards. To her, it's all connected, a pattern of gatekeeping, retaliation, and a refusal to acknowledge the artists who helped build his legacy.
Jay?
Yeah.
At this point? Nah, I would want, why?
But why escalate now? The timing is everything. Diddy's legal troubles have sent shockwaves through the industry, with federal prosecutors alleging a decades-long scheme of coercion and exploitation. His once untouchable reputation is in tatters, his allies are distancing themselves, and his empire is crumbling under the weight of lawsuits and federal charges. Jay-Z, meanwhile, has remained conspicuously quiet about his longtime friend and rival's downfall. No statements, no public support, not even a sub-tweet. That silence speaks volumes, especially when you consider their history. These are two men who rose together in the 90s, who've collaborated, competed, and, according to some, conspired. Their friendship has been documented in photos, interviews, and even joint donations, like the $1 million they gave to Hurricane Katrina relief in 2005. But in 2024, as Diddy's world collapses, Jay-Z's absence from the conversation is deafening. And Nicki? She's filling the void, positioning herself as the truth teller in a game where loyalty is currency and betrayal is the ultimate power move. Then there's the Super Bowl. When Kendrick Lamar was chosen to headline the 2025 halftime show over Lil Wayne, a decision influenced by Jay-Z's Roc Nation, which consults for the NFL, Nicki didn't just criticize the choice, she framed it as personal. Denying a young black man the credit he rightfully earned in this game, all because of your ego, she wrote. Your hatred for Birdman, Drake, and Nicki has you punishing Lil Wayne? Lil Wayne? The GOAT? The subtext was clear. Jay-Z wasn't just making a business decision, he was settling scores. And in Nicki's telling, she's next on the list. Because let's not forget, she's been locked in a bitter feud with Megan Thee Stallion, another Roc Nation-affiliated artist. To Nicki, the pieces fit together like a puzzle. Jay-Z's alliances, his silences, his refusal to pay what she's owed. It's all part of a larger pattern of control. And if she's going down, she's taking the blueprint with her.
But under no circumstances am I gonna be quiet when you talking about him like that, Nicki Minaj. What the hell was that? What's that about?
But here's where the plot thickens. Because Nicki isn't just fighting Jay-Z, she's fighting the entire machine. And that machine includes Desiree Perez, Roc Nation's CEO, whom Nicki has repeatedly called out for her past cooperation with law enforcement in a 1994 substance case. It includes the NFL, which has faced its own scandals over artist selection and backroom deals. And it includes 50 Cent, who's been gleefully stoking the flames from the sidelines. When Nicki threatened to cancel her album earlier this year, blaming Jay-Z, 50 Cent reposted an AI-generated video of Jay-Z in a pink wig with the caption, "Lol, what did they do to Nicki? I like it when she gets mad." The subtext? He's enjoying the chaos. But if Nicki's accusation about a payoff is true, 50's role in this saga isn't just that of a spectator. It's that of a player with his own agenda. And that agenda might not be as pure as his documentary's marketing suggests.
Sometimes you receive more with not doing well than you receive. I threw an excellent pitch.
Yeah, we wouldn't even bring it up.
Talking about?
Let's talk about Sean Combs, The Reckoning. When it was announced that 50 Cent would be executive producing a documentary about Diddy's downfall, skeptics questioned his motives. This is, after all, a man who's spent years feuding with Diddy, who's mocked his legal troubles, who's even joked about Jay-Z's alleged involvement in a now-dropped lawsuit accusing both men of assault. But the documentary delivered interviews with accusers, footage from Diddy's inner circle, a damning portrait of a man who once ruled hip-hop with an iron fist. Critics praised it as a fearless exposé. But Nicki's claim that Diddy paid 50 to stay out of it flips the script. Because if 50 Cent took money to shape the narrative, then the documentary isn't just journalism, it's leverage. And in an industry where perception is power, leverage is everything. Now, let's connect the dots. Diddy's legal team has already cried foul, claiming the documentary includes unauthorized footage and that 50's involvement makes it inherently biased. But what if the bias goes deeper? What if the omissions, the names left out, the stories untold, weren't just creative choices but transactions? Nicki's accusation doesn't just implicate 50, it raises questions about every voice in the documentary, every source, every so-called revelation. Because if Diddy could allegedly buy silence from one of his loudest critics, who else has been paid to stay quiet? And what else are we not being told? Meanwhile, Jay-Z's silence is becoming a liability. In December 2024, he was named in a since-dropped lawsuit accusing him and Diddy of assaulting a minor in 2000. Jay-Z denied the claims, calling them heinous and absurd, and the case was dismissed. But the damage was done. The association alone was enough to tarnish his reputation, to force him into a rare public defense. And in the court of public opinion, silence is complicity. By refusing to address Nicki's accusations, by letting her dominate the conversation, he's ceding control of the narrative. And in a game where perception is everything, that's a dangerous move.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
So where does this leave us? With three of hip-hop's most powerful figures, Nicki, Jay-Z, and 50 Cent, locked in a triangle of accusations, counter-accusations, and unanswered questions. With Diddy's trial looming, with Jay-Z's legacy under scrutiny, with Nicki positioning herself as the whistleblower in a system built on secrets and side deals, and with one inescapable truth. In this industry, the real currency isn't money, it's information. And right now, Nicki Minaj is the only one trading in it. But here's the thing about information. It's never just one-sided. And as Nicki continues to drop bombshells, we have to ask, what does she stand to gain? Is this about justice or is it about power? Because if there's one rule in hip-hop, it's that no one plays the game for free. And Nicki Minaj, she's playing to win.
So tell me about your relationship with Beyonce, because she's on a track here.
You know, everybody asks me that.
Well, then I shouldn't have.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Because while Nicki's been firing shots at Jay-Z and 50 Cent, there's one name she hasn't mentioned nearly as much, Beyonce. Jay-Z's wife, his partner in business and life, the woman who stood by his side through every scandal, every feud, every triumph. She's been conspicuously absent from this fight. No tweets, no subtweets, no public statements. But make no mistake, she's in the crosshairs. Because if Jay-Z's empire is built on unpaid debts and broken promises, then Beyonce's empire is built on the same foundation. And if Nicki's accusations gain traction, if the public starts to believe that Jay-Z has been systematically underpaying and undermining the artists who made him rich, then the questions will start coming for her too. Because in 2025, Beyonce isn't just a superstar, she's a billion-dollar brand. And brands don't survive scandals like this unscathed. So what happens next? Does Jay-Z break his silence? Does 50 Cent address the payoff allegations? Does Diddy's legal team use Nicki's claims to discredit the documentary? Or does the industry close ranks, as it so often does, and wait for the storm to pass? One thing's for sure, this isn't just a feud, it's a reckoning. And the next move could change everything. Because while we've been focused on the battles, we've been missing the war. And in this war, the weapons aren't just diss tracks and lawsuits. They're documents, they're testimonies, they're the quiet conversations happening in boardrooms and back channels, the deals being made behind closed doors. And if Nicki Minaj has her way, we're about to see it all. The only question is, are we ready for what comes next?
What's the first sucker move that he pulled, in your opinion?
Wow, I got a string of them, but look at me in my face, right? During my trial, look at me in my face telling me, yo, don't worry about it, bro. I got you. And I never see him again.
We've seen this playbook before. Because if there's one thing hip-hop's power players excel at, it's turning financial disputes into leverage. And Jay-Z's history with unpaid debts isn't just Nicki's problem. It's a pattern. Remember West's public meltdown in 2020 when he accused Jay-Z of withholding millions from their Watch the Throne collaboration? Or how about Damon Dash, Jay-Z's former Rockefeller co-founder, who spent years in court battling over royalties and ownership stakes, claiming he was frozen out of profits from projects he helped build? Then there's the lesser-known but equally telling case of Memphis Bleek, Jay-Z's protege, who allegedly walked away from Roc Nation after disputes over compensation, another artist who helped lay the foundation, only to be left holding an empty bag. These aren't isolated incidents, they're a blueprint. And Nicki isn't just calling out a single injustice. She's exposing a system where loyalty is rewarded with exposure, not equity. The question isn't whether Jay-Z plays hardball, it's whether the game was ever fair to begin with.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup.
But let's talk about the culture of silence, because that's where the real power lies. Diddy's legal troubles didn't emerge in a vacuum. For years, whispers about his private gatherings circulated through the industry like an open secret. Lavish events where the guest list read like a who's who of music in Hollywood, where the dress code was white and the rules were whatever Diddy said they were. Former staffers have described a world where NDAs were as common as celebration flutes, where security outnumbered guests, and where the after-parties had a reputation for crossing lines that no one dared to name. Yet for decades, no one spoke. Not publicly, not on the record. Because in an industry built on relationships and favors, crossing a man like Diddy wasn't just risky, it was career destruction. That is, until the lawsuits started piling up. And now, with federal prosecutors alleging a pattern of coercion and a trial set for May 2025, the silence isn't just breaking, it's shattering. The question is, who's next?
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant. Then. All right, okay.
Enter 50 Cent, the man who's made a career out of monetizing chaos. His documentary, Sean Combs. The Reckoning wasn't just a deep dive into Diddy's alleged misdeeds. It was a masterclass in turning scandal into content. But Nicki's accusation that Diddy paid 50 to stay out of it flips the script. Because if it's true, it doesn't just implicate 50. It suggests that the very expose we've been watching was curated, controlled, or worse, sanitized. And that changes everything. Because if 50 Cent, the man who spent years positioning himself as the truth teller, the outsider, the one unafraid to call out hypocrisy, took money to shape the narrative, then what else has been bought and sold behind the scenes? The documentary's credibility hinges on its claim to be unfiltered. But in an industry where everything is a transaction, can we ever really know? Now, let's talk about the domino effect, because this isn't just Nicki's fight anymore. If her accusations gain traction, if artists start coming forward with their own stories of unpaid debts and broken promises, Jay-Z's empire could face a reckoning of its own. Roc Nation isn't just a label, it's a machine with tentacles in sports, streaming, and live events. And if the artists who built that machine start demanding their cut, the financial fallout could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is surely watching, because every new allegation against Jay-Z is a distraction from their client's own trial. And in a court of public opinion where guilt by association is a real threat, Jay-Z's silence isn't just suspicious, it's strategic. Because the last thing he wants is to be pulled into Diddy's legal quagmire where every text, every deal, every backroom handshake could become evidence. But here's the thing about power. It's only as strong as the loyalty that protects it. And right now, that loyalty is fracturing. Nicki's not just fighting for her money, she's fighting for her legacy. Because in hip-hop, your worth isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in respect. And if Jay-Z is seen as someone who underpays his allies, who silences his critics, who lets his artists take the fall while he stays untouchable, that respect evaporates. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's credibility is on the line. If he took Diddy's money, he's not the truth teller. He's just another player in the game. And Diddy? He's fighting for his freedom. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Don't let the haters bring you down. Just keep going. Keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your goals.
So where does this leave us? With an industry on the brink, where the lines between justice and revenge, truth and leverage are blurrier than ever. Nicki's not just exposing Jay-Z, she's exposing the entire system. And if there's one thing we know about systems, it's that they don't go down without a fight. Now, here's what we need to ask. If Nicki's right, if Jay-Z really owes her $200 million, if 50 Cent took a payoff, if Diddy's crimes go deeper than we know, then what else are they hiding? Because in a world where money buys silence and power protects the guilty, the real scandal isn't what we've seen. It's what we haven't. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember, the loudest voices in the room are usually the ones with the most to lose. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your guard up. This story, it's far from over.